Welcome to the Shmuley Show. This is a special edition because today is Israel's 78th birthday. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Israel, the Jewish state, Mr. President. Happy birthday to you. Israel was established through blood, sweat, and tears. So it's never just a celebration. It's also a day that marks tremendous tragedy. Israel's the only country in the world that I'm aware of that actually commemorates its Independence Day by first having 24 hours of grief and mourning for Memorial Day, for its 26,000 soldiers. Memorial Day in Israel is very different to the United States. Here, Memorial Day in America is a day you go to buy a mattress. It's a day, you literally have mattress sales. I don't know the connection. I don't know many Americans that go to military cemeteries on Memorial Day to mourn the millions of American soldiers who died from the Revolutionary War all the way up through the Iran War now. We lost 13 soldiers have been killed in the Iran War. I don't know many Americans that do that, but in Israel, everybody does that. We even had Prime Minister Netanyahu today writing about his brother, who's arguably Israel's greatest ever fallen hero, Yoni Netanyahu, who led the Entebbe raid in 1976 on America's 200th birthday to the day, 4th of July, 1976. And now we're about to have America's 250th birthday, so half a century later. It's quite amazing. His brother's the Prime Minister of Israel, and his brother was visiting his grave today. I have been to Yoni Netanyahu's grave on Har Herzl, Mount Herzl, many, many times. And he was an incredible hero. But from the tragedy of the 26,000 fallen who are remembered on Yom HaZikaron, Remembrance Day, we go straight into Yom HaTzmaut. So I was at something today that was just amazing. It was a light show that made the American flag, the Israeli flag, the Israeli line. It was incredible. And yet, this is how the world is celebrating Israel's 70th birthday, by trying to boycott it into oblivion and destruction. You have Slovenia, Spain, and Ireland, the triumvirate of truly anti-Semitic European governments. Anti-Semitism, of course, has festered in Europe for 2,000 years. And Europe is essentially one giant grave of Jews, but especially, in Poland, that wasn't their fault. It wasn't with the pogroms, but the Holocaust wasn't their fault. It was the German Holocaust. But of course, Germany, Poland, just a cemetery. It's a great giant Jewish cemetery. But now you have, on the 78th birthday of Israel's survival against all odds and countless wars, you have Ireland, Slovenia, and Spain trying to nullify Israel's trade agreement with the EU that would make it much more difficult for Israel to export goods, to import goods. Now, here's what's interesting. The country of Germany came forward and said that they're going to block that attempt. At least Germany still remembers what they did to us, what they did to the Jewish people. I'm trying to remember which of the Nuremberg defendants it was who said that the ignominy, and remember, these were all war criminals, 11 of whom were hanged in October 1946. One of the Nuremberg defendants famously said that the ignominy of Germany over the Holocaust will last for 1,000 years. For 1,000 years, Germans will hang their heads in shame. When I was at Oxford, rabbi at Oxford, I still remember how many German men and women, especially women, German, wanted to convert to Judaism. And I used to say to them, that's not the way to deal with guilt. And why are you having guilt? You didn't perpetrate the Holocaust. Just be a great friend of Israel and the Jewish people. Your parents were the generation of the Holocaust, not you. But regardless, at least Germany said they're going to block it. But it's like, here we are 78 years later, and nothing's changed. We Jews and many evangelical Christians and other supporters of Israel are rocking tonight, and we're so thrilled. And even though Israel's at war, This is a very small ceasefire going on right now with Lebanon, but my sons are at war. There's more talks now between Israel and Lebanon to see if there could be some kind of Abraham Accords extension to Lebanon. Lebanon would be so smart to do it. But even while Israel's at war, you have in Israel hundreds of thousands of people who are in the streets finally dancing and celebrating. Israel just survived one of the worst wars for a country its size in all of human history. And it didn't just survive, as I wrote with my IDF soldier son, Mendy, in this incredible book, Come Back Nation. Israel annihilated its adversaries in a 7-front war of survival. So if you think that there's nothing to celebrate tonight on Yom HaTzmaut, Israel's a miracle. Israel's a miracle. So the first thing I want to say on this special edition of the Shmuley Show is happy birthday to the Jewish state. You are 78 years young. May you forever be majestic, creative, magical, mysterious, moral, safe, secure, electrifying, and above all else, blessed by God and chosen by God. The Jewish people are chosen by God to spread the light of morality everywhere. Which leads me to something that I've never done in the Shmuley Show ever, but I'm going to do it now. I'm going to address myself for a brief moment to Israel's greatest citizens, its warriors, the IDF, the men and women who wear the olive green uniform, including my 4 children. With the news today that Israel has imprisoned, imagine, on the day that Israel commemorates its 26,000 fallen soldiers, they imprisoned 2 soldiers who destroyed a wooden statue of Jesus in a Lebanese Christian village. First of all, again, before I address the idea of, so how many countries would have admitted to that, punished their soldiers immediately? Israel did. But now I want to speak to the idea of soldiers. You are the Jewish people's greatest heroes. You are the Jewish people's greatest warriors. You are brave and courageous in ways that are unimaginable. You have my greatest love and respect, and you therefore carry a very special obligation. More than almost any, the burden you carry to be a moral force, which you are, is greater than almost any military in world history, because everyone is looking at you trying to find immeasurable fault. There are always soldiers who do bad stuff in any army. Israel's proportion is tiny compared to even the most moral of nations. And yet, everyone who puts on the olive green uniform, you need to think to yourselves that you are representing a people who the world will always judge not just by double standards, but by impossible standards, but you still have to try to live up to those standards. You have to know that you are part of a righteous and moral army. It was only one soldier that destroyed that statue. And he didn't kill anyone. It was a statue, and Israel immediately replaced it. But the message it sends from the most moral army in the world is that its enemies can then take those images and propagate them around the world and say that Israel hates Christians. To every IDF soldier, I address you today to say 2 things. A, thank you, and God bless you. And B, I'm sorry to say it, but the responsibility you carry to always be moral, to appear moral, to act moral, to enact moral warfare, to protect all citizens, Muslim, Christian, unaffiliated, is higher than even the American military, who the world also wants to condemn. I know that it's a burden that is so difficult to carry, and yet you must do so. You must do so because the God gave us this special responsibility of being a light unto the nations. And our greatest ambassadors and representatives are our warrior class, the people who keep us alive, the IDF, our greatest heroes. So this isn't a criticism, it's precisely the opposite. It's a statement that I acknowledge that you are the best the Jewish people has to offer. I acknowledge you are the cream of the crop. And therefore, we cannot have any soldier ever destroying a cross our Christian brothers and sisters, or God forbid, ever harming an innocent Palestinian. That isn't a direct necessity for the security of the state of Israel. Is always going to be, unfortunately, collateral damage in warfare until somehow God gives us godlike abilities to go into war, any country, and only punish the evildoers without the innocent ever suffering. Right now, no human being and no country has that capacity. And yet Israel, the world expects you to limit casualties as much as humanly possible. And you do. But always think to yourselves, yes, the burden of being an Israeli soldier is higher than being an American soldier or a NATO soldier because the world expects the most of us. Is it fair? No, it's not. But is it worth it? Yes, absolutely, because you are part of the chosen people. And to all the Israel haters out there, and I cannot believe that one IDF soldier, and I condemned that soldier 24 hours before the New York Times even did the story, one IDF soldier doing destroying one wooden cross, which was immediately replaced by Israel at a much higher level, became such a big story because the world wants to find fault with us Jews. It's forgetting the Holocaust. It's remembering that one soldier destroyed a statue. And yet even that one soldier was too many. It was too many because the world expects us Jews to be a light unto the nations, and we are. And that's why Israel took immediate action and punished him. By the way, yesterday, so Gabriel Bell, my dear friend, producer, sitting right in front of me, and he said to me, and we had the conversation, by the way, I asked you, Gabe, you got to get a microphone so people can hear you. You said to me that my condemnation of that soldier's actions was republished in full, the full video. It was almost a full video on Eye on Palestine, which have 13 million followers. And I watched it. Do you know that they tagged it, Rabbi Shmuley defends the IDF soldier who destroyed the cross? I mean, if you talk about dishonesty, I mean, that was as dishonest as it comes. Anyone that watched the video saw me condemn the soldier and demand that Israel punish him, which Israel did by giving him a 30-day prison sentence today on the eve of Israel's Independence Day. And the soldier who filmed it was likewise given a 30-day court-martial imprisonment for 30 days. So how did Eye on Palestine suddenly lie so brazenly and say that I was defending it? Answer, Gabe? And even you were coming back to me and saying that I was defending it? What? We can hear you. Go ahead. Speak loud.
You have to don't paint pictures. Just be straightforward.
I was. I said I condemn the actions of the soldier.
5-second video. I condemn the actions of the soldier. Goodbye.
No.
Israel.
No. You can't. That's ridiculous. You want me to condemn the actions of a soldier out of context that this is one bad apple. I told you. It would be the equivalent of saying that Derek Chauvin, an American police officer, killed an innocent black man in Minnesota. And if I said that, people would think I'm an America hater and I'm a law enforcement hater. And I'm not. I am a bad cop hater, but most cops are heroes. Okay, you know what? I know that Eye on Palestine lied, but it was nice of them to put me out to their 13 million followers, and I hope I got a lot more followers. By the way, Gabe, you read the messages on my, you do a lot of the posting for me. Are you freaking shocked at how many anti-Semites follow me? You know, someone asked me today how many anti-Semites there are in the world, and that's a fair question. I don't know. I said 10, let's say it's 10%, and there's 8 billion people. That means there's 800 million. Do you think that's a fair assessment? I hope it's not higher. That 10% of the world hates Jews? Probably, right? That's 800 million. That's 1 billion people. That's a lot of it. But I think that half of them, 400 million, are on my Instagram feed and on my Facebook feed and in my X feed. I think there's at least 400 million Jew haters who follow me every day. Okay, moving on. Did you see the president of Argentina, Javier Milei, rocking it out in Jerusalem on Mount Herzl today? I couldn't believe that. First of all, Javier Milei, who I have yet to meet. I had so many opportunities to meet him, and I still haven't met him. I love his sideburns. I love his whole vibe. The turnaround is incredible. Argentina was the country that took in all the Nazi leaders like Adolf Eichmann. Adolf Eichmann was captured in Buenos Aires working at a Mercedes plant on Garibaldi Street. Adolf Eichmann, the architect of the Holocaust, was in hiding in Argentina. Argentina helped him hide. The Juan Perón, with his disgusting, vile wife Evita, whose tomb I have visited in Buenos Aires, and who, of course, Andrew Lloyd Webber made so famous. Don't cry for me, Argentina. I don't know all the words, but the song is gorgeous. How's it go? Da-da-da-da-da, not much to ask for. I kept my promise. Don't keep your distance. Gabe, I think I got a Broadway career right there. But Evita was a pig. She was a disgusting human being. I don't know why Andrew Lloyd Webber, who I love, oh my gosh, The Phantom of the Opera is the greatest musical. The Phantom Phantom of the Opera is here inside your mind. Dun, 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 dun. Why did Andrew Lloyd Webber make Evita, the Nazi lover, into a hero? I don't know, but he did. And then Madonna started as Evita. That was her first major role, I think, or most celebrated role in film. But Evita and Juan Perón, the Peronists, brought in the Nazis after the war. So you had Mengele hiding in South America. You had Eichmann, countless other. And who helped them get there? This is what really interesting, the Catholic Church. The Catholic Church was instrumental in helping the Nazis escape. And where did they go? They had to go far away, South America. And which country principally? Argentina. And now the president of Argentina is Javier Milei, the greatest non-Jewish lover of Israel, maybe in all human history. Where did this guy come from? Where did this guy even come from? Where, Javier, like what planet? This guy loves Jews so much. He loves Israel so much. I mean, I think I love Israel, but compared to him, it's almost like I'm like free Palestine compared to Javier Milei. I think every Jew is free Palestine compared to Javier Milei. By the way, you do realize, Gabe, I've just created a viral clip. that every Jew ate. Rabbi Shmuley just said that he is free Palestine. So Milei, who I guess loves rock, and there were those great videos of him campaigning like 3 months ago wearing a tight leather jacket. He's a really sexy guy. He loves rock and roll, and he rocked it out in Jerusalem tonight. He like rocked it out. Did you see him singing at Israel 70? I mean, even Netanyahu wasn't up there. Like Netanyahu, the camera panned to Netanyahu, Sarah, his wife, and they're like, no one can believe it. The president of Argentina, the country that used to hide the worst Nazi war criminals, murderers of Jews in human history, today is the greatest lover, non-Jewish lover of Israel that the world may have ever produced in its entire history, and no one can figure it out. It's incredible. He said he wants to become Jewish. He said that he would have become Jewish already. He would have converted, except for his responsibilities as president. And by the way, he's a damn popular president. He'll probably be almost certainly elected to a second term. His party is dominating Argentina. And why? Not because of his love for Israel. I don't know what the people of Argentina feel towards Israel. It does have as a large Jewish community relative to other communities, 200,000 strong. So it's not large relative to the large size of Argentina, but it's a large community relative to how small Jewish communities are outside of Israel in the United States. Israel has 6 million Jews. America has 6 million Jews. Israel has slightly more. Then you drop all the way to France, which is about 500 to 600,000 Jews. And then you go to Argentina, 200,000 Jews. Then you go down to Hungary, which is 100,000 Jews. No, sorry, I missed England. That has 220,000 Jews. Okay, but you see, the numbers are small. So, Milei's not doing it for the Jewish community. I don't know how the people of Argentina feel about Jews, but their president is amazing. So why is he so popular in Argentina? Because they had 30% inflation. The peso was worth, it wasn't worth this piece of paper that I keep my notes on for this show. I should really Gabe said to me that this paper is really ugly and I shouldn't have it in front of me. Really, Gabe? Do you never watch Jon Stewart? My favorite liberal? He really is funny and Jewish. Very proud Jew. Big hater of Israel, unfortunately. He starts every show going like this. Every show goes like this. Yeah? You don't even know that, do you? You don't even watch Comedy Central. Every show goes like this. But you didn't even let me put my freaking piece of paper in front of me. But that's what the Argentinian peso was worth until Milei came along, and he's saving the economy. So he's very popular. But he's in Israel for Israel's 78th birthday, while Ireland, Slovenia, and Spain, and Argentina was colonized by Spain. Spain has become gross in anti-Semitism. Which brings us to Mexico. So Gabe and I were debating just yesterday about guns and that horrible story, which Gabe, I still don't really even completely understand, that this father killed 8 of his 9 children or 7 of his 8 children. Which one was it? 7 of his 8, and 1 escaped. The sickest domestic story we've heard in America, maybe in my lifetime. Maybe I'm 59 years old. Maybe I don't know of another story amidst how many sick domestic stories we have in America, domestic violence. I don't know of a father who killed 7 of us. The closest I can think of is Magda Goebbels and Joseph Goebbels, who killed their 6 children in Hitler's bunker and gave them all cyanide. and then they took their own lives. This is right after Hitler blew his brains out April 30th, 1945. Magda Goebbels, who was Joseph Goebbels' wife, and they had 6 children. She had a 7th. Her son survived from the previous marriage and became the richest man in all of Germany. Magda Goebbels' family, her son, so her grandchildren today own 25% of BMW and 25% of Daimler-Benz. Did you know that? They're the richest, the Quandt family. They're the richest family in Germany. Magda Goebbels. And Magda Goebbels, the first lady of the Reich, who Hitler said every Jewish woman should copy. Do you know that before she married Quandt and before she married Goebbels, do you know that she was dating a Jewish guy who was one of the most famous Zionists in Jewish Germany, made Aliyah to Israel. And there's even rumors that she used to wear a Magen David. Magda Goebbels. But in any event, may she rot in hell and burn there eternally. She killed her own 6 children in the Führer bunker. Probably, I guess it was the 1st of May, 1945, the day after Hitler killed himself. And then, 2 days after Hitler killed himself. So probably May 1st or May 2nd. So that was the worst story I ever heard of what a parent did to kill their own children. That was 6 in Hitler's bunker. Now we have an American father who shot and killed 7 of his 8 children, right? And 1 escaped. So you were telling me, look at this, the gun problem, and you asked me, should we circumscribe, gun laws? And I said, I always believe in the Second Amendment. But I became almost a Second Amendment absolutist after October 7th and after the tsunami of anti-Semitism and the wave of Jew hatred in America, so Jews and other minorities can protect themselves. But Gabe, now that you see how many people just died in Mexico that has very strict gun laws at the pyramids outside of Mexico City, so how do you respond to that? I mean, everyone that wants to curtail gun ownership in America, yeah, America has more mass shootings, much more than other countries, but it's not like they don't exist in other countries. This story about what happened in Mexico, where I think 6 Americans were wounded, a Canadian was killed. How'd this guy get a gun? Did you read the story? How'd he get a gun?
Well, just for the record,
you got to speak loud until you get you a damn microphone. And the fact that you don't have one is your fault, because I told you to get a microphone, and Gabe never listens to me. Yeah, go on.
Mexico is the wild, wild west. Half the country is run by cartels. Their gun laws are meaningless.
Oh, okay, wait, okay. So you're saying that even a country that has gun laws, the gun laws are meaningless if it's not enforced, because Mexico, you're essentially saying, has no government. The government is all corrupted, it's all cartel, and the cartel kinds of runs, but not Mexico City. Mexico City is like the one place that the cartels are not supposed to be running, that the federal troops and all that are.
Ask the president, don't you know her?
Sheinbaum, the Jewish president who kind of doesn't seem to be the proudest Jew ever. And she's a disappointment to me because, Claudia Sheinbaum, that is like having the name Jew squared. That is the most Jewish sounding name in the history of the Jewish people. You may as well be called Moses Rabinowitz if your name is Claudia Sheinbaum, and yet she barely affiliates. That's kind of sad. Yeah, I should ask her. Do I know her? No. She never came to my synagogue. I wonder if she even goes, that would be an interesting question. I wonder if the president of Mexico, Claudia Sheinbaum, even goes to shul on Yom Kippur. That would be interesting. I mean, she acknowledges that she's Jewish, and she never converted to Catholicism in a majority Catholic country, obviously, where what's Mexico? I'm guessing 90% is Catholic, probably? 99.9. The funny thing is that the cartel guys also claim to be very Catholic, and they're all wearing crucifixes and everything. Okay, so you're saying to me that the Mexico isn't a good argument about gun laws because even if they have them, the cartel is the government.
It would be the same as saying Iraq has very strict gun laws.
Okay.
Sure it does.
Okay.
Unless you're.
By the way, to all my Mexican sponsors, I completely disavow the words of my producer. They are said in an unofficial capacity. Okay. But that's a terrible tragedy. I've seen those pyramids. They're amazing. And by the way, the pyramids are really important because we love pretending that the Native Americans, by that I don't just mean the United States, the natives of North and South America were all primitive. We love pretending that, the white people, they built the Colosseum 2,000 years ago in Rome and these great cathedrals, and that that the nomadic tribes of the United States, they didn't build anything. And then you see these amazing pyramids built by the Mayans, by the Incas, that are look, I can't say they're as impressive as anything in Egypt because I have never seen the pyramids in Egypt, and mostly because as a Jew, I don't know that I'd be safe to visit Egypt. Israel's had a peace treaty with Egypt since 1979, and yet I think if I wear a yarmulke there, something tells me that it's a one-way trip. So I can't say that they're as great as the Giza pyramid, but they're amazing. So visiting the pyramids is actually really important to refute this garbage. By the way, I don't believe that nomads are more primitive than people that build permanent civilizations. There's even something to be said about the nomadic life, which is, by the way, growing in the United States. What was that movie that won Best Picture at the Oscars 3 years ago about people who live in campers and the growing trend? Because we kind of did that, Gabe. I took my kids. We owned a 40-foot RV, quad slides, 4 slides, because 9 kids, and we lived in an RV. The kids had to go to school, so we lived here in New Jersey. But every summer, we got into our RV, and the whole summer we would live this nomadic life. I thought it was superior to just being in some stupid, dumb hotel or I'm serious. The fact that there aren't structures in North America built by American Indians, Native Americans, the fact that that's used to prove that they were primitive is the dumbest argument ever. They actually felt that being one with nature, that living with buffalo hunts, and living with the prairies and living with the rivers and living with the sawgrass and living with the mountains and the streams and the gorgeous rivers and lakes was a much superior life to the rancid, disgusting, filth-ridden streets of London of 300 years ago, or the filth-ridden streets of where there was just the bubonic plague. And that's why when the conquistadors and the English came to North America, all the Native Americans, 90% of them died of all these disgusting diseases because they didn't have these diseases. The Europeans had incredible immunity because they lived in rat-infested crap holes that were cities. Yeah, those rat-infested crap holes did build some beautiful architecture, and I love European architecture. I'm a Europhile in that respect. You're definitely a Europhile. You're not just a Europhile. You're like a Euro... You frickin' overdo the Europhile thing, je m'appelle Gabrielle. You do. And I see that as your rejection of the nomadic Native American lifestyle. I feel you have no respect for the people who, the original citizens of this land. They were.
I am Native American. My grandfather.
Okay, wait. So now, wait. You are African American. Your father's black, your mother's white. And you're Jewish, fully Jewish. And you're gay. Now you're also Native American. You are screwed in every way. You have to be, okay, the Jewish thing already makes you the most hated person in the world. Being black, second most hated. Gay, you know what? Gay might be more hated than even the Jews. Okay. And then Native American? Oh, that's not hated anymore, thank God.
They're all, because everyone's dead. There's no one to hate.
Okay. Well, Bobby Kennedy loves Native. I love Native. I've taken my kids to all the great places where these are places that you have never heard of. You've never heard of the Fetterman's Battlefield in Montana, or of course the Little Bighorn, where the last stand of Colonel George Armstrong Custer, or the Trail of Tears, or the worst place of all, Wounded Knee. You ever heard of Wounded Knee, where the American Army slaughtered and massacred about 150 men, women, and children? They have just opened fire on them. And still, I love America. I love America with all my heart, but America has done things that are inexcusable. And part of it is you're a Europhile. Why don't you try living in the prairies sometime and near the rivers? Why don't you do what Henry David Thoreau did, Gabe, and live on Golden Pond, like in the cocoon of nature? You are so corrupted. You know, Jean-Jacques Rousseau said that we are all, the great French philosopher, he said that we're all so corrupted. He believed in the noble savage. Where's the nobility to your citizenship of being a Europhile, a continent just soaked in Jewish blood for 2,000 years? An incessant war of white people going to colonize the whole damn world. You know what I did last night? I did something that you wouldn't even dream. I for $3.99 last night on Apple TV, I bought this movie called Lumumba. Now, I'm gonna try. You're a black American. I want you to tell me, who was Patrice Lumumba? You don't know, Gabe, huh? Because he wasn't like in Geneva. He wasn't in Geneva.
I went to Jewish school.
He wasn't in Zurich.
I went to Jewish school, and we only learned very specific things about black people.
Patrice Lumumba was the first ever prime minister of a free Congo. And you know how long he lasted so he brought about the freedom of Congo from the Belgians and disgusting King Leopold, who, by the way, Leopold owned Congo personally, not through Belgium. It was his and Congo is bigger than all of Western Europe. It was his. And his abuses were so great that Belgium took it away from him and made it into a Belgian colony. And then it was only slightly better, right? 1960, Congo gets freedom through Patrice Lumumba. And guess how long his prime ministership lasts?
3 days.
2 months. Until he was taken out and shot. And they took his body and they put it in a vat of acid and melted it into nothing. And I give the New York Times credit. The New York Times listed the 5 great movies that you've never heard of. That one of them was Lumumba. I found it on Apple TV and I watched it. And now I know all about this guy. I knew about the war in the Congo over the past 15 years that has claimed the lives of 5 or 6 million people that no Westerners know about. And you know that I love Rwanda and I go to Rwanda all the time, which is Congo's neighbor. But you love a continent of white people who for hundreds of years just went and colonized and destroyed India, Africa, the Middle East. And that's the continent that you're so attached to. Why? Explain it. Why do you love Europe so much? Home is home? You just said you're Native American and African American and Jewish. That's the Middle East, Africa, and frickin' North America. You have no European roots at all.
My first apartment was in Geneva. My first independent stint was
You chose to abandon your home to create this artificial home in Geneva. And by the way, Geneva, of course, is most famous for being run by that lunatic John Calvin. Okay? They were like the most repressed society on earth. The Calvinists, I shouldn't go too deep into this because the Calvinists really, John Calvin ultimately, strangely enough, is the father of the American Puritans and the Mayflower and everything else because he was into some pretty weird stuff. In any event, moving right along. I love this. This kaleidoscopic view of everything going on in the world as we just examine life and the universe and history and weave it into just a colorful tapestry of genius, of radiance, glory, and genius. So President Trump said that he wasn't going to extend the truce with Iran, and then he extended the truce with Iran. I feel really bad for President Trump because his intentions are so noble here. They really are good. And yet only 26% of Americans believe in this war in Iran. But the president's stuck. Why is he stuck? Because he knows you can't do any deal with Iran. I mean, it's like what Gabe said before about cartel. Do a deal with the cartels in Mexico. You either fight the cartels or you let them operate. But there's no in between. There's no deal to be done, right? Same thing is true with Iran. Iran is basically a terrorist cartel, an Islamist terrorist cartel. So President Trump wants to talk to them. He really would like to bomb the crap out of them and force them to give up their missile program or just destroy it all. But he can't because the American people are not behind this war. I get it. He's got elections coming up. And if the Democratic Party takes over Congress, you're going to see your taxes go up by 700,000%. You're going to see your medical care come down. Gabe's going to disagree with me because I lived in England. I know what socialized medicine is like. In England, you get like a scratch and they say, okay, we need to amputate. We got no time to deal with it any other way. For all of its faults, we have the greatest medical system in the world. So I don't want to see the Democrats take over Congress, and Trump can't continue the war in Iran and have $7 a gallon gasoline and expect to win the midterms. He's going to lose the midterms with that, and he knows that. So he's kind of stuck. So what should we do about Iran? I think what the president is doing right now is actually ingenious. Blockade the Strait of Hormuz. It's like a siege. Just lay siege to Iran so they can't get any hard currency. They can't, they're losing $500 million a day or something like that. And $400 or $500 million a day until, you just starve their foreign reserves and they can't buy anything and they have no electricity. And God forbid, I'm not here for the people of Iran to suffer, but they're suffering already under this disgusting government. And the government, the regime, the mullahs are just like to use the language of the Talmud, it's like a serpent that's coiled itself around a person. And you wonder, look, I need to kill the serpent, but I don't want to kill the person underneath the serpent. What do I do? The mullahs are coiled around the people of Iran. And the people of Iran are going to suffer in one way. It's all about minimizing their suffering, because until you kill that serpent, until you get rid of the mullahs, they're going to live under the tyranny of the mullahs. So the best thing for now, should Trump resume bombing? Sure, if we could just target the IRGC, but the American people aren't behind it. I like this blockade of the Straits of Hormuz. I like the idea of just destroying the Iranian economy completely. And let's say it goes on for a year. Okay, Iran won't have 50 cents to buy a gallon of milk. Okay, then you're going to say, but Shmuley, who pays the price? The people, the innocent people. Yeah, I know. It's always the innocent people that pay the price when they're under a tyranny. That's why you got to get rid of the tyranny. But do you want the people of Iran to pay a difficult price for 4 or 5 months, or for the next 47 years as they have already? So that's my advice to the president. I would personally continue the blockade. But to all the Americans that don't support the war, and I did an interview about this on radio today about our new book, Come Back Nation. Order it now from Shmuley.com. Did you see that seamless integrated plug straight in? I'm going straight out of it as if I didn't even say it. I did a radio interview today where I said that for all those people who believe, like Tucker Carlson or Clan DeSovens, that Netanyahu is Trump's boss. By the way, as if anyone can be Trump's boss. That's the funniest thing of all. The worst anti-Semitic slur, which is just dark comedy, is to say that Netanyahu controls Trump. Gabe, do you believe that Netanyahu's Trump's? Do you think that we're in Iran because Israel pushed America into war? Do you? Be honest, do you? Because that's what I spoke about today. That's what I'm about to address.
I would say Israel and probably AIPAC.
Okay, so you believe that the Israel lobby pressured or forced America to war in Iran, right? No, say it. You just did a choking side. They choked America into doing it? Jewish money?
They have their hands on the throats of politicians.
Okay, so the Jews, right? The Jews, meaning incredibly hunky, sexy men like me, because this is masculinity incarnate, right? You and I both know that this kind of body is a gift from God. It can't even be built at a gym. It's either a gift, it's either given from the heavens, or it doesn't exist, right? So you're saying that Jews choked the American government, they have a stranglehold on American politicians, and forced them to bomb Iran to protect the Jews in Israel. Is that what you're saying? So here's my question to you. Okay, so that's what I dealt with today. For all the people, and a lot of people believe this. They're just not all Jewish like you, Gabe. Most of them kind of don't like people like you. But let me address that argument. Do you remember before Israel had anything to do with Iran in 1979 that Iran took 52 American diplomats hostage and like dogs in a kennel, blindfolded them, put guns to their head, said they were going to kill them, starve them, beat them, whip them? That was 1979. Was that Israel? No. Do you remember that Iran 4 years later blew up 250 innocent American Marines who were keeping the peace in Lebanon? Lebanon's the biggest crap hole on earth. I love the way Pope Leo said the other day that he wants to see peace around the world like we have in Lebanon. Pope Leo. That was funny. Okay. Gabe, do you remember when 250 American peacekeepers were blown up and murdered by an Iranian truck bomb in 1983? You remember that? Did that have anything to do with Israel? No, not really. It was Lebanon, nothing to do with Israel. There was a civil war between Christians and Muslims in Lebanon. It had nothing to do with Israel.
Who armed the Christians?
1 second. It was, okay. But you agree that 250 American soldiers were murdered by Iran, yes? Nothing to do with Israel. Okay. Then we don't know the exact numbers, but we believe that at least 5,000 American soldiers died in Iraq, 5,000 American soldiers died in Afghanistan. The Iraq war was 10 years, the Afghanistan war was 20 years. The belief is that Iran is responsible for at least a third of those deaths through IEDs. So let's take a low estimate. Let's say 1,000 in each. 1,000 American soldiers died in Iraq, killed by Iran, the IRGC, and 1,000 American soldiers, let's say, were murdered in Afghanistan by the IRGC. That's 2,000. Okay, now let's start adding it up. So you have 250 soldiers killed. Then you have 2,000, 25. Then you have the hostages. Then you have all of the terrorist acts. Let's take a low number. Let's take 1,000. Let's say 1,000 Americans were killed in terrorist attacks sponsored by, I bet the number is 10 times that. But let's say 1,000 Americans were killed in terrorist attacks by Iran in 1947. You don't think that that's an exaggerated number. You would agree with me, right? About 1,000 with everything they've paid for around the world. So that means that Iran killed at least something in the neighborhood of 3,500 Americans. Now, did you see what America did to Afghanistan and Iraq after they killed 3,000 Americans? I mean, they didn't do it, of course. What I meant is that Afghanistan harbored bin Laden. It's the 25th anniversary coming up in 4 months. Did you see what America did to Iraq and Afghanistan after 3,000 Americans were killed? And no one said we shouldn't go to war. So you're telling me now that we're in Iran, attacking Iran. We're not even in a full-scale war. There's been no ground invasion. We've had an aerial war. And you're telling me the reason is that the Jews pushed America into it because we should overlook the fact that Iran killed 3,000 Americans, 2,000 of them being our bravest soldiers. So if Iran came today and blew up the new, what replaced the Twin Towers, if Iran blew up the Freedom Tower and killed 3,000 Americans, would you demand that the United States go to war against Iran? No. You would say what? Forgive them? Overlook it?
Well,
get them to say sorry?
Maybe this is a conversation for when I have a microphone.
Well, it's your fault you don't have a microphone. Okay.
The U.S. didn't invade Iraq because of the Twin Towers.
Okay, fine. But Afghanistan, okay, forget Iraq. Go to Afghanistan. 20-year war. That was for sure because of the Twin Towers. Because Afghanistan harbored bin Laden. Come on.
Wasn't he in Pakistan?
No, he escaped afterward. There was all the fighting in the, what was the name of the mountain there? The famous battle where America almost got him and they let him go.
We were fighting in Afghanistan long before.
That was, I've been fighting in Afghanistan for thousands of years. I get that. But what I'm trying to say is Osama bin Laden killed 3,000 Americans and no one said we shouldn't go to war against him. And no one had any issue with that. And if Iran killed 3,000 Americans today, of course, then right now you have 75% of Americans against the war. You would have 98% in favor of the war. But because they forgot to tabulate what Iran has done for 47 years. They've killed us for 47 years. Forget Israel, forget Jews. We're talking about American servicemen and American citizens.
Don't soldiers die in war?
They weren't killed in a war. They were blown up as peacekeepers in Lebanon.
A very difficult sacrifice.
God. You think that countries should not protect their soldiers when they're blown up by terrorists? You really have such contempt for human life? Let me ask you a question. You really are sounding like Pope Leo. You're a pacifist. That's okay. Pacifism is a thing. I think it's completely immoral and amoral, but it's a thing. Sigmund Freud was a pacifist. Albert Einstein was a pacifist until Hitler came to power. Then he wanted to build an atomic bomb. Einstein went from being a pacifist to suddenly sending a letter to President Roosevelt in 1939 telling him to build an atomic bomb. That's quite a change because Hitler came to power. It changed his pacifism. And he had, of course, 1933, he escaped and came to the United States and lived here in New Jersey, in Princeton, at the Center for Advanced Studies, where Robert Oppenheimer, who built the atomic bomb, was the head, right? So you're a pacifist. So I want to ask you a question. I ask you and Pope Leo the same question, but I'm asking you, Gabriel Bell. Okay. So you're walking down the streets of Manhattan and near the West Side Highway. And there's there's a lot of dark spaces where they have the FDR underneath, right? And a guy pulls a woman and you see him raping her. Okay? And you don't have a gun on you because you're not someone that owns a firearm. You probably don't believe in it. And you don't have a machete on you because you're not cartel in Sinaloa about to chop someone's head off who spoke to the feds, okay? But you have a baseball bat because you're out to go play baseball with your friends. And you see a man raping a woman and she's screaming for help. Would you take your baseball bat, answer this honestly, and crack his skull open to save her life?
I think that's the kind of situation where you either have to have a very hard swing and you'll be productive, or if you don't have a very hard swing, better just keep going, because keep going?
If
I just hurt him...
Did you just say keep going?
If I give him a bat, he's going to kill her and me.
Oh my God. This has got to be a viral moment. I got to get you a microphone.
Am I
Okay.
Superman? I have to go. Am I Batman running around?
So you're telling me that if you're walking down a street of Manhattan and you see a woman under the West Side Highway being raped by a man and you have a baseball bat, you would make a calculation as to whether he's going to beat you up as well.
Yeah. I'm not dying for a random woman. No offense, but I wouldn't be very helpful.
Okay.
I need to have a weapon.
But if you had, okay.
I had a gun.
No, if you had a gun.
I would be in jail the rest of my life for shooting it.
I know, that's the problem. That's the problem.
I had a gun.
Look at how I'm being sued for standing up to an anti-Semite who threatened to murder me. I'm being sued. No, you're right. That is a very big problem.
Let's say they're doing role play and I kill her boyfriend. You can't just shoot someone.
You can't. What?
Excuse me, sir. Are you?
The woman is screaming, "I'm being raped! Help!" You think they're doing role play in the middle of the night?
It is Manhattan. You never know.
Okay, and with that, I think we're done. There were a few things I wanted to make sure I covered today. I spoke about the terrible massacre in Mexico. I spoke about the IDF soldier put 30 days in jail by the IDF on Israel's Independence Day for breaking the Jesus statue. I spoke about Israel replacing the statue. I spoke about the Iran truce and what President Trump should do. I spoke about Argentina and the Nazis and the incredible Javier Milei. God bless you, Javier Milei. Damn, I want your sideburns. I spoke about disgusting anti-Semitic Spain, Slovenia, and Ireland trying to boycott Israel. I spoke about Israel's 78th birthday. I guess what's left is the most important thing of all. My book. My book. My book. Except that it's not my book. It's mine and my son Mendy's book. This is, I wouldn't say, one reviewer recently wrote that this might be the most important book ever published since the Bible. And I didn't like that review. I don't like the might be. Okay? I think that man was underselling the book. I think it was a unfair, really disgusting critical review. What do you mean this book might be the most important book since the Bible? Is, my friend, is my brother, is the most important book. This book will electrify you, reads like a novel, but every word is true. The incredible story about Israel's comeback war after the October 7th massacre, which is ongoing, written by someone who fought in the war, my incredible son Mendy, who's the chief speechwriter in English for the Speaker of the Knesset, Amir Khana, and written by yours truly. The only rabbi. A lot of you are thinking, okay, Shmuley, why would I read your book? What you're famous for is being the only rabbi to ever have been named People magazine's sexiest man alive. And just because you're incredibly sexy doesn't mean that you're a good writer. I accept that. I understand that a lot of you will judge the book. This is a gorgeous cover. A lot of people judge a book by its cover. A lot of people are going to look at this incredible cover and say, yeah, okay, so the cover's beautiful, but what about the book doesn't look as good? And that's why you got to read a book. So a lot of you are looking at me and saying, Shmuley, the packaging is perfect, but what about the internal components? How do we know you're a great writer? Buy the book, my friends. And you will see that both the cover, let me do this. Buy the book, my friends, and you will see that both the cover as well as the content are perfect. God bless you.